Hello, dear friends, and welcome to our podcast dedicated to white wine and only Why White Wine. My name is Darina Ablogina.
And my name is Uli Fusenegger.
And we are in Italy again in our beautiful apartment in Stresa, watching over the lake. It's a beautiful evening with some sparkling lights outside of the window and inside of the apartment. It's very cozy because we have some fire that Uli has started. So it's a very, very nice atmosphere before the new year. So we're recording this episode before the new year. And we are ready to try a new grape that we have never tried. Also in real life, not only for the podcast. So that's going to be very interesting. So what are we trying today?
We're trying today a grape called Timorasso. And it's from the winemaker Walter Massa. And the wine is called Dertona. So Derthona. And it is from 2022.
Why have we decided to try this wine actually? What was the behind the scenes motivation?
Well, let's say it's great to once in a while try something where you have no idea about it. So we both do not know the characteristic of the wine. I read somewhere something about it, about this very special area around Tortona, which is around 80 kilometers north of Genoa. I think it's still part of Piedmont. And this grape was almost forgotten. And then Walter Massa started in the late 80s to focus on that grape, Timorasso, I think in 87, and really dealt with it because he obviously saw quite a potential in this grape, which was, as mentioned, almost forgotten. And now it seems that he's quite successful with cultivating this grape, and it became quite famous. It's very special because it's a native grape there. It's only there. You won't find it, I think, not really somewhere else in Italy. It's just in the area of Piedmont, and I'm super curious what this is going to be now.
Why was it forgotten, and from when on does this exist, this grape? So it's obviously a very old grape.
I think the grape was mentioned first in the 15th century. Why it got forgotten, I do not really know. Very often it happened because of that grapes got forgotten because of diseases. That's normally the case. It is mentioned that in the 19th century it was frequently cultivated in the region around Novara, which is not so far away from Tortona. And now we have to know that I think it's also a DOC wine, which is called Collini Tortonesi, so the hills around Tortona, and this is where the wine's from. But it seemed to be completely forgotten, and then this winemaker Walter Massa, he had maybe some grapes maybe from his father or grandfather, because they did this winery since generations. He tried something with it, so I think if we will like this wine, which I hope, because we have not tasted yet, it's waiting for us in the glasses, we should definitely visit this guy and maybe find out a bit more about the whole story.
Yeah, because also, not to forget, we're in Stresa, which is also in Piedmont, in the region of Piedmont. So we can just hop into the car and drive to this wine producer, which will be, I don't know how much time it will take.
Approximately 2 hours, I guess, and then we would be there. So it's just straight south from here, easy to access.
Just yesterday we have visited another wine producer, Generai, that we have already observed on one of the episodes. So you can check out the episode about Generai, about Royero Arneis, their famous wine. And also I had a question to the diseases that you have mentioned before. So does it mean the disease of grape kind of prevents its, let's say, development, and it's just sometimes there are parasites, or it's a special, like, do you know anything about this kind of accidents when a grape just stops and it's not existent anymore and we don't have it?
Well, there have been in the history big diseases all over Europe. And for example, the famous Cabernet Sauvignon survived because they replanted it in the US when it was the big disease here going on, and then they re-imported it to Europe. And of course, with some of the grapes, some of the wines, they got completely forgotten. And a disease is rarely that 100% gets lost. In some hills, something often survives. But then, of course, when they replant, they try to plant, of course, grapes which are more resistant. Because, people already hundreds of years before, they partly had it was their business, so they needed plants which were resistant to these diseases, and also the diseases always changed over the centuries. So this was a coming and going kind of, and I think that's why a lot of grapes I think there's still many around which would eventually have potential, but nobody took care of it. Besides that, we're also very much living in the times of mainstream. So, if you go now for planting Sauvignon Blanc or Chardonnay or whatever one of the mainstream grapes, and you know how to make wine, it's not that big risk if you do something like Walter Massa did, and really to focus totally on an unknown grape. It's also business-wise quite a risk.
I was also thinking, for me, it's very interesting always to read a description that is given, sometimes on the website of the producer or distributor, and kind of compare my personal impressions with the ones that I have read from this description. And I was thinking now, should we go through these descriptions and then compare it later with our impressions, or first we would rather try it and then maybe we could read the description? I don't know, what do you think about it?
I think it's better. Look, this is completely new for us, so I don't want to compare with somebody who is maybe used to this kind of taste. So I think it's really great to kind of blindly step into the experience.
Good. Yes, I think it's a good idea to not gather the prejudice or let's say expectations, and hop into this cold water.
Well, there are expectations because this winemaker is quite successful. You can find this wine even in Switzerland and in Germany. So the big importers, they have Timorasso wine, but there are not many producers who really did it. So when he started this business in 87 of the last century, it can't be the case that it's for such a long time very successful. And of course we're, I think, talking about nerds, so it would be also hard to find this this wine in a restaurant, maybe in a high-end restaurant where they kind of focus on specialties, you can find this kind of grapes, but yeah, it's far away from mainstream.
Let's come closer to this rare gem as Timorasso. What do we see?
We see a relatively strong yellow,
Yes, I would say very warm.
which is maybe also related of this nice color we have here in our apartment with the fire light. So there's no green touch in it at all.
I think it reminds me of a yellow pear. Interesting smell. I did not expect that, I must say. Something really new.
Definitely something like flowers. It's rich. I would not call it at the first glance fresh so much, what we very often have with white wines. This is kind of a serious boy.
I would say that indeed I could not feel the touch of grass as we have seen before so many times. I would say again this connection with the yellow pear. When you smell on the peel of on the body of the pear, you get this very generous scent, which I can notice also here.
Yes, I agree. I also wanted to mention when we are talking about freshness, for me, there's really no citrus aspect in this wine, which we very often have also. Maybe something of a yellow apple, a tiny bit, some kind of nut or even almond.
Or maybe like the flower of an almond, like some white or slightly yellow flower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's hit the glasses and have a sip.
Wow, this I could not expect. That's very, very new feeling, but I must say the wine is excellent.
This is something very special.
I think it's a successful tryout.
Yeah, I'm really impressed because it's not comparable to whatever we normally would drink. And I think we don't have a very bad selection and also quite a variety, but this is absolutely special.
Yes, I think it's standing out in a way that it's not reminding of any grape as we had before, such as Grüner Veltliner or Royal Anise, Grauburgunder, things like that, Pinot Gris. So it's very, very different. And I must say, for me, it was, again, okay, yellow pear. Very soft yellow pear that is waiting for you on a summer evening. But also what I have noticed is the somehow taste or feeling of salted caramel a little bit. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, I also think it's a bit the skin of the orange.
You mean in the taste?
In the taste, yeah. In German it's called Zeste, so what you scratch down. Not when you peel it, but it's kind of not when you bite into an orange, but the smell which it delivers. The taste reminds me a bit of that. Then I have to say it's very dry, this wine, because the color is really yellow, strong yellow. It's 13.5 degrees, so you would expect maybe something broader than it is, but it's slim and rich at the same time. It's very mineralic. It also has what could you call this? Do you have in a pencil graphite?
It's interesting because that was not my first impression. My first impression was really this salted homemade caramel, which is surrounding, let's say, the taste, and you feel this very safe and in a way childhood evoking feeling that you feel very warm, safe, and feeling very good. I don't know, it's like it kind of triggers all these very nice atmospheric feelings.
I think that's a very good description with the salted caramel, what you give. Maybe just not that we mislead. There is nothing sweet what we know from the caramel, but this caramel taste maybe combined with a bit of bitter. This combination, but with the salt, I think it's definitely there. Maybe we should mention how he does this wine. It's done with this spontaneous fermentation, and it stays pretty long on the yeast. Also, this Timorasso. And just some words to the soil, which I just researched. I've never been there. We passed by, but I don't know it. So it consists of clay, chalk, stone, and sand. So it's a very mixed soil they have there.
Somehow clay and homemade caramel, like salted caramel, that goes very well visually together. Anyways, one question. What does spontaneous fermentation mean?
Well, you kind of give up a certain amount of control about the wine. I mean, he just controls the temperature, but he does not start the fermentation with a button, but he lets it go. For what you would need really very, very good grape material, because otherwise it's a bit more risky than, because the modern way is like to control every step on the spot. And to have this spontaneous fermentation, it's a bit risky, but it's of course super to bring out the character of this special grape. And I must say, this worked obviously very good, because as we both experience something like, well, this we definitely did not have before, and this wine does not remind on a colleague.
If you would like to discover a fresh taste that does not really remind you of any other white wine, and if you would like something with, let's say, embracing yellow apple or yellow pear, something very warm and very positive at the same time. So like, I think from both of us, the feeling was a very positive surprise, which enhances our evening a lot, this wine.
Yes, maybe I now had another sip. It's getting extremely round, I must say. Now it's also becoming a bit warmer. And besides that, it still keeps relevant amount of acidity, which I like very much. So it's very stable, I think, in terms of structure.
Although we also poured it into our glasses and we have waited until we tried it the first time. So it has been waiting for a couple of minutes and breathing in the air. So it was not just directly from the bottle. But I must say, trying it for the second time, I definitely feel that it became stronger. It grew stronger and it became rounder, but also more vivid. The taste became much more, the word...
Sustainable,
but also...
even more relief now in terms of taste. There are many strong aspects, but they match extremely well. I think everything what we mentioned before is still present. What I really feel now, that this slight nut aspect is also there. I'm extremely convinced. Maybe one last word from my side, which is not spectacular, but which happens rarely in Italy, that we have here a bottle with a screw cap. So it's not a cork tap, but it's a screw cap, which is very rare in Italy. We find it all around, all over Austria, Germany, partly in France, around Loire. They're going more this direction now, in Switzerland as well. Not so much in Italy. They're very traditional here. And this winemaker obviously does his own thing and uses a screw cap, which I like a lot because I'm not so romantic in terms of tradition.
It's interesting how through a bottle of wine, how you get it, you see a bit the personality of the producer, because you see he goes for, let's say, a unique, maybe not very famous grape. And he does something special with the fermentation. And he does this new movement which is in Italy. I think it's the truly new moment of awareness with the screw cap. Because, as we were a bit talking also with the other producer and asking why they would not like to change from the corks, they just said, we had this machine for 20 years, it still functions, which I understand. It's also sustainable that you keep using it. But I think now the entire world of winemaking is switching to this screw cap. So I think it's a good sign overall.
Yes, I agree, but maybe not to forget one aspect. There was a big crisis in terms of cork quality in the 90s and in the early 2000s, and then began this tendency to go towards screw caps, which made now the use of corks easier again with the classical tap, because there is enough material around and they can choose easier, better quality, because the market is not so much demanding these kind of taps anymore, because so many winemakers change to a screw cap, which is now, I don't know, maybe it's by chance, but nowadays I rarely experience a bad bottle because of a tap issue. Obviously, the quality of cork became really better, because I remember like 20 years ago when I bought 12 bottles, no matter from which winemaker, for sure one was bad because of the tap. This seems not to be an issue anymore, because some of our Italian winemakers where we regularly buy, I think, for example, with where we have been yesterday with Generai, we never had a single bottle with a bad tap. I don't think so. So they obviously work very clean, and the tap quality is obviously very much given.
So let's talk about the money. How much should we pay in order to obtain this beautiful wine?
Well, I have to say, dear friends, take care, because there are some distributors who sell this wine ridiculously expensive, but you can find it between 16 and 19 euros the bottle. But some of them charge, even from the year 21 or 22, some of them charge like 40 for it. So don't go for that. You can find the wine a bit over 15 euros per bottle, which is a bit more pricey than things we normally taste. But as it's so unique, and this guy invested a lot of years and research, so I think it's fair, this price, and the wine is exceptional, and I think it's an absolutely okay price for this kind of quality.
I think for any kind of celebration, jubileum, whatever you have coming up, this wine is amazing to surprise your guests. Everybody will be asking, what's that?
Yes, or as a present, because, you give a present and nobody knows it. You could say so, and then friends would open it and, wow, what's that? So, highly recommended, I have to say.
Maybe we should also guide a little bit. We can order this wine from the website of the wine producer, right? And what is the website?
You will find it totally easy if you just Google Vigneti Massa or the name of the wine, Dertona. you find distributors, but you find also the winery directly. So it's not a big secret, which we already had in other episodes where it's really hard to find the producer. No problem here. So you can get directly in touch with the producer. He's not so huge, so it's a very special segment. And after this experience now, I definitely think we should go there and get to know this guy.
And I think it's nice when you can support the local producer, his unique work and his knowledge, his research. I think it's great. It's a long-term perspective. It's very important to do.
Yes, I totally agree. Whenever we have the possibility, we buy directly from the producers and not from the distributors. Of course, they're also important because they can help, of course, in distribution. But what I must say, when I have the option, I would like that the whole amount of money goes to the producer.
With these nice words, maybe we go on with this beautiful wine. We're wishing you a nice evening and see you very soon. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening, and hope to be back to you soon with another hopefully nice experience we will have. Bye bye.